Hello everyone, I'm Tom, this is Arnold.
Hello.
This is episode 2 of our little movie club podcast thingamabob. Films today we're going to be talking about are Doctor Strange 2, Anatomia Extinction, Antlers, 1408 and Till Death. That was everything, wasn't it?
That's correct.
So to start us off, Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, directed by Samuel Raimi.
Samuel Raimi.
Written by Michael Waldron.
Starring Benedict Cumberbatch. Elizabeth Olsen.
Benedict Wong and Ochi Gomez. So, Arnold, what did you think of Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness?
It was okay. It was alright. I've been watching Marvel films recently, and I haven't watched all of them yet. And it was an interesting leap to see like a film, let's say, I don't know, the first Captain America film to like Doctor Strange 2, and seeing how they've sort of progressed in terms of like how they write stories, and you know, because with Marvel films, especially like debut stories, because I watched Doctor Strange 1 the day before, and most of it just they seem to fall in a fashion of typical formula where it's just, you know, the hero realizes they've got a power and then they, you know, utilize it, and then, you know, suddenly they've always been great, that sort of thing. Whereas, you know, with Marvel films with sequels and collaborative efforts like the Avenger films, it's more so you've got more of an interesting narrative going on, like almost like an arc, basically. But with Doctor Strange 2, it was just there was too much going on. I felt like it was pretty incoherent, and I felt like with some of the character motivations, especially with Wanda, it didn't really seem to make sense. I didn't think it was developed much. What did you think?
I liked it as well. But yeah, since we've watched it, I feel like more of the bad stuff has been creeping into my head.
Yeah, definitely.
I like that it's still Sam Raimi's style though. It's
not but not like a lot.
Yeah,
it's definitely like a Kevin Feige.
Yeah, I think it's Feige.
Okay.
I don't think it's like probably they let him have full reign of his usual control, because there's bits that remind me of Evil Dead, there's bits that remind me of Drag Me to Hell, there's a few bits which remind me of Darkman. But overall, I can't say I didn't like it. I did like it.
I enjoyed it for what it was.
Yeah. But the thing is, and I think this is the thing with a lot of the Marvel films, is that there doesn't feel like there's any stakes. If you know what I mean, there's nothing really at risk. And as well, this is all going to be sort of spoilers. Wanda is the main villain, and we know that maybe next one, or when they do another Avengers, she's going to be good again. You know what I mean? Everything seems to be put back to normal.
I remember when we were watching this in the cinemas, and you even said to me, like, you know, it's pointless even watching WandaVision because of what happens. So it kind of, you know, makes no sense.
Yeah, that's kind of a good and a bad thing, because, you know, WandaVision, I liked WandaVision. I thought it was all right, but you don't necessarily need it, but you probably would get more out of it. And it just goes to show how boring some of the Marvel villains are, if the fact that the best times where our heroes are fighting is when they're fighting themselves. Because there's a scene in Avengers where they fight. Civil War is basically always when they fight. That's when it's most interesting.
That's the most consistent thing when I was watching the Marvel films. Pretty much all the villains are pretty boring.
You've seen 4, haven't you?
Yeah, the first 2 Thor films.
Who was the villain in 4?
The first one. That's it. Yeah,
I can't
there
even
you
remember.
go. I can't remember.
Oh, it was kind of Loki, but it wasn't really.
Well, Loki's a relation to the same species, but
he becomes more of a villain later
exactly.
on. But like the only villain I remember from 4-1 is that weird robot thing with the 2 eyes, and it shoots out like lasers from its eyes or something. That's the only.
I don't even remember that.
Exactly, man. So that's the thing. It's kind of like with these Marvel films and shows. It's like
they don't have much of a presence that leaves a long-lasting impact on you.
Yeah, because we know after this we're getting 4, and we're getting another Guardians, and we're getting Blade. It's like, we sort of know where this is going. I do like the way Marvel don't seem as scared to introduce different characters in the same film. Like, you know, in this film we have, we won't get into proper spoilers, but we have a lot of sort of recast or different versions of characters we already know. And there's obviously there's Wanda, Doctor Strange, and Ochi Gomez, who plays America Chavez. But yeah, overall, it's decent. If you're expecting to go into this and it be like another brilliant Marvel film, it's probably not that, but I do quite like it.
I think with you said something about like how there's no real stakes, and I think the whole film is basically about America, the character, and it's just basically her becoming the hero that she's destined to be, and it's just like it's getting a bit stale now.
Yeah,
Come
the whole like you need to learn to control your powers and all that.
Yeah.
One thing, I say one thing, there's many things I did like about this is that we get to see more of Doctor Strange's powers. Like he fires he makes like a giant razor, which is in the trailer where he cuts a bus in half. We see him like conjure up like serpents coming out of his hands. There's a really amazing bit where they have like a musical fight. Yeah. And like there's different notes being thrown out.
Some people might think that's a bit too goofy, but I think that's great.
I think that's in keeping with Raimi's style. Yeah. I mean, if you look at the old Spider-Man films, like they have this sort of hint of comic bookness to them.
Definitely.
They don't take themselves seriously, which I'm kind of glad they did sort of bring into this, if you know what I mean. And another thing is that, which is different, is that they actually kind of took it seriously, whereas a lot of these Marvel films, it's become a bit of a meme where it's like something will happen and then someone will make a funny quip, and it's not funny, but like that's just how it's gone. And I like how with this, there is still that, but it seems like they're taking things seriously, if you know what I mean, to an extent. Not like the new Batman film series, but they're taking the plot and the characters seriously, which I kind of like. The plot is basically you've got America Chavez, who can travel the multiverse, and she is being hunted down by Wanda because Wanda wants to find her kids, as we said.
I do think it was hilarious. Yeah, I do think it's hilarious how Benedict, it's like, oh, I know someone who might help. It's Scarlet Witch, and it turns out she's the villain.
Yeah,
I think that was a bit.
Yeah, because like, see, this is like another Raimi thing where like he seems to just drop you in it and it just starts.
Yeah,
and that was good. Like I like because Evil Dead 2 pretty much just drops you in it, even though it's kind of a sequel, but it sort of feels like it just drops you in it. Similar thing with kind of Drag Me to Hell, where it just kind of starts. But yeah, it felt like I liked that we were dropped right into the story, but it sort of feels like you're not really into the film for at least 20 minutes. Like I didn't feel like the film really got going until Wanda's attacking the wizard compound. Like, and even then, I just felt like, right, so in the space of about 5 minutes, we've had a demon attack this Doctor Strange, Ravager Doctor Strange. We've met America Chavez. We've met our Doctor Strange, and then we're meeting Wanda, and now she's attacking the wizard thing. It didn't breathe.
I think in terms of structure, this is what I mean about it being a mess. It's just this happens, this happens, this happens. There's not really a moment of breathing where you sort of, we're having a little chat. It's just like, oh, look what's out. It's a one-eyed squid monster, and then the next scene, it's a bit too much.
Yeah. And like films like that can work when they just go.
Yeah.
But this, it's sort of like it didn't feel like the pacing was right.
Yeah, definitely.
To sort of do that.
Yeah. But the thing is, though, this is what I mean. Like, we don't know how much control Sam Raimi had over this. I mean, originally, do you know the name of the director for Doctor Strange 1?
It was Scott Derrickson, I think.
So he was meant to direct the second one, and then he left due to creative reasons. So I'm thinking, what possibly interested Sam into directing this film?
Money, probably.
Well, apart from money, because I do remember watching Spider-Man 1, and they even referenced Doctor Strange. And I was thinking, is that like a little that's something I want to move on eventually? Is that something
Just to be a pedantic prick, that's actually in Spider-Man 2.
Really?
Yeah,
damn.
That's when they're coming up with names for Doc Ock.
Oh shit! Yeah.
But some good things about the film, though. Like, see, this is what I mean. It's like this isn't really. I don't want to say it's not a bad film, but this isn't what makes a good film. Is that there's moments in it which I love. Like, there's a moment where Wanda has been thrown into the mirror universe by Doctor Strange, and she's like looking through puddles and she's grabbing people.
That's great.
That's very Raimi. That's very Drag Me to Hell.
Yeah, I think another reason why I really like Wanda as the villain is the whole, like, because it does feel like a horror movie where she's constantly chasing them through different dimensions, and it's that sort of Michael Myers where,
Yeah.
you know, she's unstoppable, she's invincible, and spoilers, when she arrives at the, is it 616 universe? Or the other one, what's the other universe? Oh, 838.
838.
838 universe. And she pretty much tanks out every Avenger.
Yeah, yeah. Like the Illuminati.
The Illuminati, yeah. I mean, that's got to be great, man. That's just like, you know, just one of those moments where I was like, you know what? It's as long as you don't take it too seriously and you're sort of there for the ride, that it can be good. It can be good.
Yeah, like, yeah, let's talk about that scene, actually. I've got more to say, but I just want to talk about that scene.
Yeah.
That scene where she takes out them all one by one is one of the best things I've seen in a Marvel film.
It's quite brutal.
Yeah. Like, the whole Black Bolt, where it's like, his brain sort of implodes.
Yeah.
So good. When we was in the cinema, there was actually, like, an audible reaction from the crowd. Because, like, if anyone watches this at all, in our country, people are a lot more subdued in the cinema than, say, America, where they sort of cheer and that.
Yeah.
And it is always nice when something can, you know, get a reaction out of an audience. I don't want us to like proper shit on the film because it's not bad, but
It's not bad.
I feel like when you do think about it more, though,
It's probably the most visual memorable films because it's Sam Raimi.
yeah.
But yeah, I think it's more so the style than the substance with this film.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
yeah.
Well, apparently, like, I saw something that this Raimi's cut. Well, it wasn't Raimi's cut, but the first cut they did was like 2 hours and 46 minutes.
Okay,
And
that's
this
interesting.
they must have cut out about 40 minutes, and plus there was
Yeah.
all them. Well, not rumors. There was reshoots that apparently like 90% of the film was reshot, which
Because it was filmed, I think, November 2020.
yeah.
So
I think it was like,
makes sense with the COVID regulations and all
yeah.
that.
And as well, there is kind of not a rumor, but a theory that because Loki has like variants of the same character, maybe because of the success of that show, they wanted to maybe put more into.
Makes
this.
sense.
But
Makes
that
sense.
thing that's another point I want to make though, is because I think people were going into this expecting so many cameos and so many different variations of
Yeah.
characters. Like
I think the success of No Way Home made
and that as well, yeah.
made this film sort of a victim of its own success. I think with
Yeah, but I mean, there was rumors of Deadpool. There was rumors of Tom Cruise's
well,
Iron
that's
Man.
just Marvel fans expecting too much in general. To be
Yeah,
honest.
but these leaks come from somewhere. You know, these rumors
Yeah.
start. It's like the thing with No Way Home is that even though my phone just went off, even though we know that we knew that Toby and Andrew were going to be in that film.
Yeah.
But it's like even when I was watching it, I was like, are they going to be in it? Like, are they actually going to be in it? Is it? Has it all just been a ruse? Even though I saw that video of Andrew Garfield in his suit and that, it was still playing. But this, it's like I went into it not really expecting any cameos apart from Professor X by Patrick Stewart, which was in the trailer.
But I don't like the idea of a Marvel film being sort of appealing now to the point where you're only just watching it just for the cameos.
That's it.
I don't see. I enjoyed Doctor Strange 2, but I wasn't going in there to see who's going to be in it. I wanted to see what the plot was like and if it was going to be fun. You know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, just so we're not proper just shitting on it.
It's not intentional. It's
No,
just,
it's not. I mean, it's just how we feel, isn't it?
Yeah.
But some really good scenes I liked is I love the setup where we see Ravager Doctor Strange at the beginning. He dies and gets pulled into the Marvel universe, and then at the end of the film, our Doctor Strange, well, the Marvel MCU Doctor Strange, he possesses his own corpse.
Yeah.
I love that. And that's typical, like, Raimi. He really looks like
Truth,
Darkman
man.
when he's got his his half of his face missing. That was really good. Music fight I've mentioned. Bruce Campbell, his cameo, I loved it, man. I loved it because it's obviously a reference to sort of Evil Dead where he beats himself up. But he just plays that so well. Like, he grabs the mustard and goes all in his face. He's got that sort of over-exaggeration down to, like, a T, man. Overall, Doctor Strange... I say overall quite a lot. But overall, Doctor Strange 2, it's fine. It's another Sam Raimi film, which is good. But...
I'd say it's definitely not a film... You'd have to watch all the Marvel films, and I think that's like a good thing itself.
Oh yeah.
So, you know, I'd say if you have to watch Doctor Strange 1, and then you could just watch this and then enjoy it for what it is.
Maybe Infinity War and Endgame as well.
Yeah, I suppose, but yeah. See, I don't know, man. If you mention Infinity War and Endgame, you'd have to watch the other films, and it's just ugh.
Anyway, let's stop talking about this fucking corporate piece of shit, which is basically we're just speaking about it to probably get views, and talk about some real films. Another film we both watched, which was Anatomia Extinction from 1995, directed by Yoshihiro Nishimura, also written by him, starring Kisi Ishizuka, Sun Sasaki, and Shinaka Tone. Probably said all them wrong, but there you go. Arnold, what did you think of Anatomia Extinction?
Absolutely loved it.
Very
Fantastic. I think the film is a great job with the atmosphere. Has a great job of making you feel isolated. I love the sort of set pieces, especially like inside the subway station, where it's very vast and very isolated. The lighting's great, very minimal. The colour palette's basically just red and blue for most of the scenes. Just in general, just how inventive some of the practical effects. There's a lot to sort of talk about here. It's a very simple plot, but I love it, man. What did you think?
I really liked it as well. It's not your full-on feature length. It's only 53 minutes long.
Exactly.
Reminds me very much of Shinya Tsukamoto, who directed Tetsuo the Iron Man.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. A Snake of June and Bullet Ballet. Very reminiscent of his, because his stuff is very sort of gritty and sort of dirty and a bit sleazy.
I did prefer this way more than Tetsuo the Iron Man.
I've watched a few of Shinya Tsukamoto's films, pretty much the ones I've just mentioned, and they're all right. I quite like them. He does a lot, and this film does as well. It does a lot with the amount of time that the film is. I mean, so much happens in this film, and you don't even
you can never worry about like padding or anything like that at all.
Yeah.
Every scene is vital to what's going on.
Practical effects are unbelievable. Yoshihiro Nishimura has since then has become known for like his special effects work. According to Wikipedia, he's called the Tom Savini of Japan. Do you know who Tom Savini is?
Tom Savini? No.
He's a very famous sort of special effects artist. If you saw a picture of him, you know who he was. He did Dawn of the Dead, loads of other stuff. He's like all them sort of big 70s films. He did the special effects
I think that rings
work.
a bell. Yeah.
Since this film, Yoshihiro Nishimura, probably his two biggest ones that are known in sort of the Western sort of world is Tokyo Gore Police and Meatball Machine. Both films I haven't seen, but I do want to watch them now after this. A funny thing about this, about Anatomia Extinction, is that I've actually watched this without subtitles and partly because I'm an idiot, but when I watched it for the first time, there is actually encoded subtitles, meaning there's actual subtitles in the film, not ones that you select, but there was no option for it. So I just watched it and I thought, is this some kind of like art thing where they're not going to give us English subtitles? But
But it was it was pretty much easy to follow.
I mean, a lot easier. I mean, when I did watch it again with subtitles, and there's the whole thing about this like dystopian police.
Oh,
state.
they announced the overcapacity
Yeah,
filled
like
trains to 130%, 150%.
Yeah, and it says this message is from the Tokyo police. Like that's good. And I think there's a moment where she says overpopulation, and she says there's 6 billion people.
Yeah.
And this was 1995. I think there's around 8 billion people on the planet
8 billion now.
So it's just like, if they thought 6 billion was bad, Jesus, they ain't got no clue what's going on now. But about the film, about the plot, it's sort of like there's this, to put it really, really basic, is that there's a man who witnesses sort of a murder, and the murderer is some kind of like,
it's a mutated
like an
creature.
insect
It's
thing.
hinted at a point in the film where they're a government experiment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he infects our main character. I don't think the main character has a name, does he? He's just the boy.
It's just a typical everyday man.
Yeah. He gets infected with this sort of alien parasite thing, and he eventually goes on like a killing spree, and it's like a government experiment or like an alien race which is trying to depopulate
because he's
the world.
trying to fight the urge to kill. That's the whole point of the film. And to skip ahead to the ending, he finally embraces it, and when he goes completely mad by killing those 2 police officers, it's just great, man.
Yeah, and he's driving the car. It's just like that. And he's just running people
What are
over.
those things that come out? There's like different mutants, and like he shoots like these weird things from his arm.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that was very. Yeah,
It's like very.
It's like it's obviously like animal parts.
Yeah.
And something else, and it's like it's really ingenious.
It's very Cronenberg.
Yeah.
Sort of fleshy things. There's a great effect where he sort of opens his chest like a jacket. And he's
and it's literally like a little compartment.
Yeah.
That's great, man.
That's brilliant, man. Brilliant.
I love the breathing sound for the mutant, and it distinctive sort of. I love that. It's that little attention to detail. I love the experimental camera movements. Very shaky, sort of. It's very sort of student art, but you appreciate the ingenuity it has. It's just a lot of great moments, to be honest. I do like that scene where he's going on the computer to find out he's trying to find the context to why these killings are happening, and he goes through all these little datas. And I love their little comments underneath after like a death has been reported, like "I hate babies."
Yeah.
And what was the other one? Now I made reduce rats, and I was abiding traffic laws and stuff like that. It's got a great sort of dark humor. You have to sort of go along with the film because it's not taking itself too seriously. Very dystopian though.
Yeah. I loved it. I love when it goes to that, like, I mean, there's a bit which is like Hellraiser, where I
thought that.
You have a woman who's been like, all her limbs have been cut off and she's been like skinned, and like she's just dangling upside down. Brilliant effect though. Brilliant effect.
Trust me. I love there's bits as well just before he completely goes insane and starts a killing spree. These sort of flashes of imagery and these provocative imagery of him screaming. There's one shot of him, and there's like loads of like mice around him.
Yeah.
And there's like a shot of him with like the background TV static and stuff like. I love that sort of stuff, like this sort of foreshadowing, this complete mental breakdown. It's good, man.
But yeah, I mean, that's pretty much all I have to say. He's very, like I said, he's very reminiscent of Shinya Tsukamoto, especially when you mentioned with the camera,
the shaky camera movements,
and even the main character sort of looks similar to the character from the Iron Man, where he's like the suit and the glasses.
Yeah, because there's a bit where he's in his final form, and you see steam coming out the back of his head, and it's just That's
great, man. That's great.
When did Tetsuo come out? Was it around the same time, or was it late 80s?
I think it was 88 or 89.
Could have had an influence.
I think there is a definite influence because that Shinya Tsukamoto is I think he's still making films today. I think he released a film in 2018 called The Killing, which was like kind of like a samurai film.
Another reason was why I think visually it's so memorable is that you know, when you watched it without the subtitles, it was enough to keep yourself engaged. And it's like, they didn't even have to say it. You didn't have to understand really what they were saying in the first place. It was just one of those films where it's just like, wow, what's going on? Mutant killings. What's going on? It's just like, there's a lot that sort of, it makes you think about it the next day, thinking, what the hell was that all about, man? It's a really good film, man.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the information is sort of, and I think they probably only did this to sort of get the information out there, is a lot of the exposition is just delivered through like a news reports.
Yeah.
And I love how that gets a bit like kind of fucked up, the way
she's like, yes, good work. And,
and there's one bit where she's like, that was fucking A, and shit like that. The main actor, he because this is definitely low budget. I mean, I think the ratio is like 4:3, so it was probably filmed maybe on 16mm, if I've got that correct. And like, it seems like he just went into the middle of like a busy area and just started screaming and started acting out. Fair play to him.
You could see like the general public's reaction, like, what the hell?
Yeah, I'm sure there's people like looking round and all that. It makes me think, if we want to sort of add a bit of like artistic thing to it, there's a moment at the end where we see the main character.
I was about to say,
and his hair's gone from bright orange, gingery colour to like black. And like, I wonder if like this is kind of his sort of dream, where like he's sick of the sort of lifestyle, the office work.
I don't think it's a dream. I think that's him, and that's the aftermath of what he's gone through. And there's a little smile, and I think that, to me, that's him. He's found his true purpose in society, because society, you know, what is society other than, you know, it's being overpopulated and everyone needs to die. So that's my little theory.
Are you the Joker?
Yeah, I am the Joker.
Because society's got you down. Any more thoughts on Anatomia Extinction?
All I gotta say is I really want to watch more of his work, and hopefully we have more potential reviews on his filmography.
Yeah, I'll have to have a look. Like I say, there's I think the main two are Tokyo Gore Police and Meatball Machine. Which
Meatball Machine sounds fun.
Yeah, I think I don't know if I've seen like a scene from that, probably on YouTube or something. But if we can find them, we'll have to definitely talk about them.
Yeah.
But yeah, very good. Yeah, very good. The next film is Antlers, directed by Scott Cooper, written by Henry Chasen, Nick Antosca, and Guillermo del Toro is a producer who has directed things such as Hellboy, Hellboy 2, and Pan's Labyrinth, and a bunch of other shit. I think he did The Shape of Water as well, but he's only the producer in this film. Starring Kerry Russell, Jesse Plemons, and Jeremy T. Thomas. Overall, I think that's the third time I've used this in that video. It's alright. It's kind of a monster film.
Is it very simple plot then?
Sort of. I didn't like it. Well, no, I did like it, but it's just like, well, I'll tell you.
What did you like about it? Let's start off.
I'll tell you the plot, because it's better if I tell you the plot. Basically, there's this kid called I can't remember. There's a kid, and in his house is like a monster, and I'm going to spoil this because it's just better if I do. Basically, his dad has been attacked by a monster. Let me start again. At the beginning of the film, his dad is attacked by a monster, and then it sort of turns his dad into some kind of like, he gets possessed basically, and it infects his brother as well. Not the father's son. I'm making a fucking mess of this. But and then you've got the other son who's not infected, but the two that are infected are kept in like a locked room.
Yeah.
And then as like the dad gets more infected, like he becomes more violent, and then he eventually transforms into a Wendigo, which I quite liked the fact that we're getting a film about the Wendigo, because I haven't seen one before.
Now, you got to tell us, what is a Wendigo?
I don't fucking know. It's an alright film, but it's trying to say, I think it's trying to portray a message of like child abuse, but the child's not being abused. He's just looking after his dad who's ill. I don't know, man. I don't know. It's like now.
Is it a case of the child is wise to the situation, what's going on, but
Yeah,
no one believes him?
No. Basically, Kerry Russell plays like a teacher, and she starts noticing this kid is like, you know, he's coming into school and he's dirty. He looks like he's been beat up and all that. And she thinks she thinks he's been abused.
Yeah.
Because she has also been abused. And now, in a better written film, they could have done something with that, where like, oh, it's not abuse, but in a way is abuse because blah 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 blah. But there's none of that, because you feel like you're telling Kerry Russell's character he's not being abused though.
Yeah.
Like he's not being abused. Like if we didn't know what was going on at home, like we'd probably believe that. But
Yeah.
because we already know that his dad's turning into a monster.
It seems a bit weird to put that after.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like I feel like it's trying to portray the dad, because the dad at the start of the film is, well, he's making meth. Or he's doing something.
Came out of nowhere.
He's just a bad bloke, and like I think they're trying to do the thing where like you can be a bad person and still be a good person. You can do bad things and still be a good person.
Yeah.
There's all that. Honestly, the more I think about it, the more it's just a bollock film, man. Like I've put here, there's nothing particularly special about it. It seemed like they wanted to say something about child abuse, but there's no substance to it.
Yeah.
I actually do think, because the opening of the film is the dad is in his little meth den, which is in like an abandoned mine, and then they hear a noise, they go and find it, he gets attacked, and then the son walks in, and then that's where the film goes. And I do actually think the film would have been a lot better without that intro.
Okay.
Without the opening, because then we could have done the whole child abuse.
Yeah.
Thing. Maybe, actually thinking about it now, maybe that was like a studio
Interference.
Sort of, yeah. Maybe they were like, well, you can't just start this film like this. We need to know what's going on. But I think that's kind of what put me off it.
Yeah, because it's holding the audience's hand.
Yeah,
too much.
It's like,
yeah.
oh, well, this is what I mean. Like, if we wouldn't have known that the dad had been infected by the Wendigo, then I keep going to say Wendigo. Then we would have like been like, oh well, what is going on? Is he being abused, or is something else going on? But we just know from the start.
Yeah.
Some good points about it though. Jesse Plemons and Kerry Russell are brother and sister, which I like that dynamic because it's different from my typical husband and wife thing.
Yeah.
Like brother and sisters are a lot more open with each other, and like they'll say what they want. And there's this whole thing of like, if there's one good moment, which is sort of about child abuse, is that there's a moment where Kerry Russell says to Jesse Plemons like, oh, you had no idea what dad used to do to me, all that stuff. And like Jesse Plemons turns around and says, well, you didn't know what he did to me. And I like that, because it's sort of like, you know, he's always open for her, but
Yeah.
he also went through some stuff, if you know what I mean. It's a nice dynamic between the brother and sister.
That's cool.
And that they are quite well together in terms of acting. Like I say, cool monster. There is some pretty cool body horror. There's a moment where the dad, when he sort of transforms into the Wendigo, he's like mouth opens and then like a big like sort of antlers come out.
Okay.
And it's like you see his face like go like that. That's fucking great. Very good sound of the film as well. I love the sort of crunching and all that stuff. You can see what they probably do there with all bones and all
Foley
that stuff.
sound effects.
Yeah. Is there anything else I really want to say about this film? Nah. It's okay. It's a fine horror film, I suppose. Nothing really good. A really stupid moment though, and something that it's only in the film to kick it off, to get it going, because Kerry Russell goes to the principal of the school and says, look, I think this child's being abused. And she's like, how do you know he's being abused? Oh, because I was abused. And then she's like, oh shit, I better go check it out. So this principal goes to the house and the door's open, and she walks into the house, goes to where the locked room is, opens the locked room, and the whole time you're like, what the fuck are you doing? like the door's open, you hear screaming. The first thing you do is call the police. And I know in horror films that whole thing of calling the police is never really done, because that would the film would be over.
Exactly.
But
yeah.
it just feels like, well, it's just too stupid.
Yeah.
So yeah, Antlers, okay horror film. If you really like your horror films, you'll probably like it. The Wendigo is a good monster, but overall, it's just not that good, I'm afraid. I'm sorry, Scott Cooper. That it's not that good, but that's my opinion on it. So yeah, that's Antlers, baby.
So this next film is Till Death. It's starring Megan Fox and Callan Mulvey, directed by Scott Dale. This was a 2021 release. I think it was a Netflix film, but it didn't really say. But what I thought was weird about the film, I mean, I'll talk about the plot in a sec, but the fact that it was classed as a horror film, but it's not. It really isn't. If you look at the thumbnail, if you go on Netflix, it looks like a horror movie based on where she's like on the icy floor and she's like that. But it's not.
I think I've seen the thumbnail. Is it like Megan Fox and the face is all bloody and all
Yeah,
that?
yeah. But it's just more so of a thriller, and I'll tell you why. Megan Fox plays this character called Emma. She's in a very unhappy marriage with her husband who's very controlling. The film starts off with her ending an affair, and which leads on to this celebration of an anniversary with her husband. They've been married for 10 years, and you can tell their heart's not in it, you know, and they want to make up for it. So he basically sends her to a secret lake house far away, and they try and reconcile, and you know, and then the next morning she wakes up, and suddenly her husband, for some reason, gets a gun out and shoots himself, blows his brains out, and then she quickly realizes that she's handcuffed to his corpse, and the whole plot revolves around her trying to escape this house while she's chained up to her husband's corpse. And like, the idea of that does sound really interesting. The film, it's too predictable, because a lot of the setups, you can see happening from like a mile away, and like it takes its time to get to those reveals. But after that, it just becomes really unengaging, and it becomes a bit of a chore to watch the film.
How long is the film?
I think it's only an hour and 30 minutes.
No.
So, but there's so much like padding in between. But what I mean in terms of the cliche fest, so there's a bit just before the romantic dinner scene. Well, I wouldn't even call it romantic, but there we go. But basically, she goes into her husband's office because her husband's a lawyer. And this basically sets up the whole relationship as to why they ever met in the first place. So, a couple of years ago, there was an incident that involved her being stalked by this criminal, and she gets stabbed, and she's got PTSD basically, and she meets the husband because he's a representative of her case, and that's how they fall in love and they get married, because she's like a struggling photographer. So anyway, obviously with this film, you see from a mile away that the person who stabbed her comes back, is the main villain of the film.
Yeah.
And because after, you know, flash forward, you know, she wakes up with her husband's body, and you know she's trying to escape. It's a revenge scheme, and the husband, there's another plot involves the main villain. And the husband tries to hire them to make sure she stays dead. And the reward is basically there's diamonds in the safe. And it's just like a lot of the film just revolves around, you know, Megan trying to hide from them. Oh, they almost got her. And like just all these sort of generic scenes where it's basically hide and seek. And then you've got the two brothers. And it's like their relationship is just essentially, there's the good brother, here's the bad brother. And then you just know for a fact that the good brother will eventually try and help Megan escape. And that does happen at the end. But it's just like, for an hour and 30 minutes, like, it takes too long to actually get to something. And then when it does, it's just really boring. It's just, Honestly, and another thing I had a problem with was Megan Fox's performance. I don't think she's that great as an actor, to be honest. I think at the very start as well, when she goes through a sort of flashbacks with the with the main villain, you get a good you're trying to get a good sense of her with the PTSD moment, but she's highly expressionless in terms of her facial expression. Some of the deliveries really wooden. It's like, I mean, the script itself isn't that great in terms of the dialogue, but with her, it's just it does not gel well, to be honest.
Sounds like a mess.
It is. Yeah, I mean, she's likable, that you do kind of want to root for her, but she's not like, a compelling character. Not so much the performance, or neither the scripts. Yeah, Till Death, good concept, but terribly executed.
Yeah, I think you say it's probably too long, and they probably just padded it out. I think there's a lot of films, especially on Netflix, where it seems like they have an idea which can be about 40 minutes long, but then they have to stretch out for another 40 minutes to get like an hour and 20. I know this is kind of not about the film, but I know what you mean, because there's so many films nowadays which just seem too long. And
they fall into the typical tropes of having like, generic moments where it's like, oh, will they find her? Will they catch her? Oh, she's conveniently hidden somewhere safe in inside this house. It's just stuff like that, man. It's just like, we've been there and done that.
It sounds a bit like a mixture of, say, Panic Room and a film called Hush.
Okay.
Well, just that typical sort of stuck in a house thing. But Hush is quite good. It's about a deaf woman and someone's trying to get in her house. Yeah. And like, it's quite good. You should watch Hush. Hush is a better film than Till Death, it sounds.
Yeah, it just wasn't. I mean, I could think of a scene where she goes into the shed to find like a sharp object to cut herself off, and one of the brothers overhears something, and but she's hidden. But basically, there's like a little tarpaulin sort of thing, and as soon as she hears them come over and like, oh, what's this? Conveniently, she's managed to hide herself and the body within like 2 seconds flat, and it's just, there's movie logic, but it's just like it does come across as really, really silly. These sort of films, they're designed for like general, audience, and I feel like with the sort of
normies. Whoa! Carry on.
Like that film would be quite appealing, but it's just there's not really anything interesting about it. I mean, stylistically, it's not really well shot. It's just a typical generic film in terms of the directing and that. I don't know if Scott Dale has done any other films. Maybe this could be his debut, but it's just pretty standard. A very play it safe film, and that's the trouble with Netflix.
Yeah, you saying that, what you said, for like a casual sort of viewer, like that's how I felt about Antlers as well. Yeah. Which is, funny enough, also directed by a man named Scott. So, yeah, that Antlers is kind of similar to that. Although I think Antlers probably has a bit more sort of style to it because it is produced by Guillermo del
that
Toro.
makes sense.
And like that's just a quick little another thing about Antlers is that like it's sort of because with Pan's Labyrinth, have you know about Guillermo del Toro? His sort of monsters are a bit sort of weird. Yeah, you can see that sort of influence, but yeah. Can you think of anything you've watched which is a Prime original or a Netflix original which you've liked? I'm talking about films here, not TV shows. Because I can't think of any. There's probably one, but I can't think that I've watched.
Is The Invitation a Netflix?
No.
Okay, no.
I'm trying to think myself.
Prime.
Prime's just a fucking bargain bin.
Jesus Christ.
There is actually a good film added to Prime which you should watch, which was recently on Shudder, and now it's on Prime. Possum, which stars I can't fucking think of his name. It's actually directed, Possum's directed by Garth Marini's Dark Place.
No.
Have you never seen that? That's fucking brilliant.
I know it's got Richard Ayoade and it's like a Channel 4.
Yeah, Matt Berry in that. The
yeah.
guy who plays Garth Marinian, that's probably wrong how you say it, he directed that film. I think it was his first his
Directorial debut.
Yeah, and that's quite good. It's about like, it's fucked up, man. It's not fucked up as in it's graphic, it's just very creepy. In a good way, it's very YouTube horror, if you know what I mean. Like that sort of like, how can I describe it?
It's more so atmospheric.
Yeah. It feels like it's an extended version of a short film, but in a good way. It doesn't tell you fuck all about it, and it's very good. But yeah, Antlers was supposed to deal with child abuse, but Possum also deals with child abuse, but in a much better way. And there's a prop. I don't want to say what it is, but there's a prop in Possum, which is one of the creepiest fucking things I've ever fucking seen, man. It's fucking terrifying. Like, and the thing is with Possum, the poster does look like a shit horror film, like a shit, like just something that someone's knocked out in probably fucking 2 months or something.
Yeah.
But it is actually quite good. It's very, I wouldn't say slow, but it's atmospheric, as you say. But yeah, what was I talking about? Till Death. Was that it for Till Death?
Yeah, I'd say so.
Yeah, fuck Till Death. The next one I watched was 1408, directed by Mikael Hafström, written by Matt Greenberg and Scott Alexander, based on a Stephen King short story, starring John Cusack, Samuel Jackson, and Mary McCormack. Overall, which I think is the 4th time I've said overall now, it's fine. I mean, it's not. It's a bit shit.
So just to explain briefly what the plot is.
Basically, John Cusack plays like a horror writer in terms of like real life horror, like top 10 scariest places in America. And he gets this little note saying, don't go to the Dolphin Hotel and don't stop in 1408. I don't think that's actually explained where that comes from. But obviously he does. And like there's a whole build up to him going in the room, like, the people who book that room, they're only there for an hour. And, you know, just creepy shit happens in there, and like it's the most scariest place in the whole thing, and all that crap. It's a bit Shining light, Diet Shining. This is
Diet Shining,
and I say that because it is a Stephen King adaptation. I liked it at the beginning because it's a lot of like creepy hotel stuff. Like he'll go into one room, he'll come out the room, and there'll be something in that room which wasn't there before. There's like there's one where the room gets really hot and he can't turn off the thermostat and all that stuff. Yeah,
that does sound quite fun.
It's all right to begin with, but then it just goes off the rails, and like the room starts filling up with water. And I know it's all like a mental thing, it's just the room fucking with him, but it's like it's too over the top. It's like
bit too cartoonish.
Yeah, but I say that now thinking about it, there is that bit in The Shining where all that blood comes out the elevator, and it.
Yeah.
But I don't know, it's like that film was a lot more sort of surreal and a bit weird, whereas this starts off as like a typical horror film. Like the way I've described it here is that this is a film you'd buy on DVD, and years later it's just gathering dust in the loft. Like that's how it feels. There's not much really to talk about this film because it is just pretty standard. Like and there's all like flashbacks and stuff. And that's another thing, like the room's trying to sort of mess with him because does he lose his daughter? I think his daughter dies. Something happens in his life, or he breaks up with his wife. The reason why I did watch this, I think I remember seeing a trailer for this many years ago, because this did come out in 2000 sometime, 2006 or 7, I think. So it's quite old at this point.
I thought it was like a 90s film, to be honest.
No.
You were describing it.
But I think I saw a trailer for these, and it did interest me, that whole idea. But like, it's probably when I was younger and trailers just overblow everything. I'm like, this is the scariest film you've ever seen. Yeah, similar with Antlers. If you're into sort of horror films, then give it a watch because it's all right. It's just a bit too over the top. Overall, we'll leave it there. Thank you for watching. There's probably more shit you can watch by us. I don't know why you'd want to, because we're both dickheads, but Yeah. Have a nice day.